What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, I'm happy to have you. And if you're a returning viewer, I know, I forgot the napalm strike. I read it in your last video. I've heard everything you've got to say, and honestly, I couldn't agree more with you. With that being said, I am really excited to talk to you guys about the new Fallout series that's been released on Amazon and just how good it was and how amazed I am with how they actually listened to the fans and Bethesda. This isn't something that they took a bunch of liberties on their own to make it something else. This is Fallout, guys, and I'm just so excited to talk about it. But first, before we get into that, I just want to take a quick second to thank all of you guys for the amazing support in my last video, What Your Favorite Stratagem Says About You. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever expect 30,000 views on a video. I was thinking maybe 500 to 1,000 at best on a good day, but you and the algorithm absolutely came through for me, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I want to continue to grow with all of you, so please, if you like this content, please like the video, please subscribe to the channel and share with your friends, and hit that notification bell. And with all of that said, let's go ahead and get into the video and why I think Fallout was such an amazing TV series done well where other TV series based off of video games fail. Just a quick warning to the viewers who have not seen the show, there will be mild, very mild spoilers, but I will be planning to keep this as vague as possible so that I don't give away too much that's important. But I really just need to talk about this show. So if you haven't seen the series before, feel free to go watch it and come back to this video. No hard feelings, I'll totally understand. But with the rest of us, let's continue. Starting off, I think we have to talk about just the source material that Amazon's Fallout series and directors used. Like, they didn't make too many obscure changes that made me feel alienated from the game. Like, I understand what's going on in the Fallout world, and it's being told to me in a way that I could piece everything together, even though some things are a little out of place. Like, for instance, I know that some of the fauna and the flora is, like, abundant throughout the series and the episodes, but we have to take into consideration that, like, when you're making a live action TV show based off of a video game, it's very hard to make it come to life to 100% representation. But honestly, I think it's serviceable, and it really does make a believable experience, in my opinion, for watching this show. So just because we're in a nuclear Fallout world doesn't mean that we can't have some greenery to enough to where it's like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll let it slide. You can just really get a sense of feel for the tone that showrunners Geneva Robertson and Graham Wagner have for Fallout. They've listened to the fans, and you could tell they're taking a lot of feedback from Todd Howard and Bethesda. Just listen to this response in this interview from Graham Wagner about why he thinks Fallout is so special.
The appeal for us was that's what all the Fallout games have done, is create a new story with new characters, and that, you know, on a crude level, we're like, that must be a part of the secret of Fallout. The success of Fallout is that they keep adding and building on it, as opposed to sort of retelling the same story with better graphics or whatever have you. So yeah, we kind of just took that as our cue. Is like, our job is to do more Fallout, and that's what has worked in Fallout over the years. So yeah.
Hearing that response from the showrunner just gives me so much confidence in what they're doing right now. You could just tell that a lot of passion was put into keeping the show authentic to its true self, and they didn't take any shortcuts. They didn't make any Hollywood changes for no reason. They're just listening to the fans, Bethesda and Todd Howard, about what they need to do, and it shows. I mean, look at what we're watching, guys. Like, a great representation of a show that not only fans of the series but new oncoming fans can get into, and I just think it's really awesome to see, and a breath of fresh air in an industry that is otherwise tearing a lot of our favorite shows apart. Another thing that just works for the Fallout universe is, unlike the other franchises that got some heat, like Halo, pretty much showing Master Chief's face after like the second episode, versus like a game like Fallout, you don't have the main pre-established character with all of his morals and background code. Like, no, the cool thing about Fallout is that you, the main character, go out into a world that is inhabited by the remnants of a post-war apocalyptic 1950s era type of world, and you have to put the pieces together. I mean, I just think it's easier to insert a new character into that type of backdrop because they kind of represent the player character, as opposed to someone like a Master Chief who we already know what his codes and values are, so why are you showing me scenes of his butt like it's a Mass Effect game, right? And that, I think that's the thing, is like, it doesn't make sense to break the tone of a show for the sake of just like general audience. I think you need to keep the core audience of the game or property that you're covering. They need to be the center focus. And then if you want to introduce smaller things to get the general audience in, then that's fine. But you have to show respect to where it came from. It just doesn't make sense to go about putting everybody all at once, because you'll please nobody if you try to please everybody. Another highlight of the series has got to be the characters. I just love the way that they've highlighted each character, and how people like Ella Purnell, who plays Lucy, the main character and Vault Dweller of the series, is really embodying her role as just like this person who's coming out from underground in a world that she was raised where everything is hunky-dory, to seeing the reality of the situation when she comes up to the surface world and nothing is as described in her previous text. She has no idea what's going on there. The world is scary to her, but she's got a goal, she's got to go find it, and she's running into a lot of amazing characters like Walton Goggins, and who plays an amazing role as like this cool ghoul who's been around from the pre-war era all the way up until now, who's like a bounty hunter. And like the transition of seeing that character go from how he was before the war to now is just a really cool contrast that I love to see in shows. Same thing when you have characters who's played by like Aaron Clifton Moten, I believe his name is. He plays Maximus, which is like a Brotherhood initiate. He's just trying to find his way in the world as he was kind of adopted by them. Without going too far into the spoilers, let's just say that he's pretty cool and endearing. I just like that how the characters organically come across each other, and you could tell that the writing team put a lot of care and consideration into the way how they interact with each other. Like some of the conversations I noticed kind of play out like the Fallout game, where when the main character has a conversation, you can almost see the Czech dialogues coming up in the middle of conversations and how certain things play out. Like there's a particular moment where Lucy is talking to a certain person and trying to de-escalate a situation, and I can almost see my charisma check getting shown in the game. And I mean, it was honestly really nice and cool, and it was well done.
47 don't have any weapons!
A little stress. So why don't we all take a deep breath?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Oh, okay,
Now, the show does have a little bit of backlash going on with a minor controversy, speaking about how Fallout New Vegas seems like it's getting swept under the rug for the Fallout universe within the series. But Todd Howard in a recent interview basically just confirmed that the New Vegas series events are canon to the show. However, right now they're just trying to keep some stuff hidden under the rug because they don't want anything spoiled for future Bethesda games. And I think that's a fair play. I think we should keep the series kind of honed in on what it's talking about narratively, and then slowly build up the rest of the world as we get further and further within the universe. And then we could eventually talk about New Vegas and what's going on within over there. Because if you're a fan like me, most people will tell you that New Vegas is the best Fallout within the series, and although there's some debate between the other titles, it seems to be the general consensus for most of us. Now, I understand the show's not made for everybody, and as a fan of the series, I find it hard not to like it. However, I'm not going to ignore that there are some gripes that people will bring up. You know, it's easy to nitpick certain things that aren't exactly like the game. I just kind of look at it in the perspective that not everything's going to be perfect. It's really what you can take out from the series. And when I compare it to another show that's similar in contrast of how it was made, like Avatar: The Last Airbender live action on Netflix, I look at that show and how they did use a lot of the source material, and though it did seem similar to the original source, I couldn't help but notice that the pacing and overall characterization of some of my favorite characters from the show were kind of drastically different, to the point that it was a little distracting for me. I just kind of like how the setting of the Fallout universe bases it off of a character who is kind of like the created character of the beginning of most games. So it's more leniency on how they can act because it's not a pre-established character with morals and ground code and all that stuff. So I think it works to their advantage, and I just look forward to seeing what the rest of the series looks like going forward. I think a lot of other studios thinking about making a video game franchise TV series could take some notes from a series like Fallout and even the Last of Us TV show that came out a year ago, and just really consider sticking to the source material, because honestly, I don't think it makes sense changing everything that you know about a series. It's kind of like growing up with a childhood friend, and then they go off on a journey and they come back like 10 years later, only to be like some new person who's replaced them entirely. Like imagine if you're hanging out with like some little kid named Jerry when you were like 3 and you guys were best friends and you hit it off, and then years later they move back and their name is Joe, and they're like some random dude who you've never met and they're saying that their name is Jerry now. It's just kind of hard to fall back in line and accept them because you know it's not the same thing you grew up with. And I think series can really learn about this. It's not a bad thing to just follow the source material. You don't have to take creative liberties because you're just changing what the people fell in love with in the first place. And those are just my general thoughts on the Fallout series as a whole. I've really enjoyed the first season, and I'm looking forward to seeing whatever the studio and Bethesda is cooking up for season 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and please let me know what you guys thought about the show down in the comments below. If you have a favorite moment or what really stood out to you as a fan of the series, and what they can maybe even improve on in the future. That was all I have for now, guys. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you have any questions, concerns, or anything in the comments below, I'm happy to answer them. I read all of your comments. Thank you all for the support as of late. The last video that really blew up really did change my mindset about making YouTube content, and I want to continue to do that with you guys. So going forward, I love all of you, and I can't wait to interact and have an awesome time with you in future videos. So peace out. I'll see you on the next video.